What's your character within Haunt?
My character? My sole being is Overlord.
Could you describe that to someone who's never been to the park before?
To new victims, you mean? Yes. When you come to our park at Halloween time, we have opened up the gates of hell into a new dimension, yours. So feel free to enter, where our monsters will terrorize at will. So come for a few laughs and a few screams. Yes.
This is Stanley Bernard, Seasonal Area Supervisor at California's Great America. For 1 month out of the year, Stanley takes off his yellow polo and friendly demeanor that becomes standard with any amusement park job and dons a flowing cloak and blood red contacts. For 8 hours, 3 days a week, during the month of October, Stanley and his 300 fellow monsters leave behind their everyday identities to become the monsters of Great America's Halloween Haunt.
You will know the true meaning of terror. Creatures of the night, are you ready? I said, are you ready?
The Halloween Haunt, which celebrated its 5th year in 2012, is the park's largest event. It utilizes an army of actors, artists, and technicians to operate its 13 different haunted attractions. During the 2012 season, I was given the opportunity to meet many of the men and women who make up the Halloween Haunt family, learn about why they scare, how it has changed them, and get a view into the unique theatrical environment of the haunt. They range from killer clowns to possessed scarecrows, bloodthirsty pirates to the Walking Dead. For some, it was just a job, but for many, it was their whole world. In the following 2 acts, we look behind the mask to discover what makes a man a monster and understand what draws us to haunted attractions. Part 1. What makes a man a monster? Can you describe the character you play and how would you say it relates to yourself?
Well, the Overlord is evil. Downright, nasty guy. I would not want to be a real-life version of him. And I think the character I play is actually very downplayed compared to what he is. He's a very dark guy. He's got a very sinister sense of humor. And definitely, he has a life of his own. Like, once I'm fully there, it's just like, it's evil, and it's fun, and it's devious, and it's really exciting, because you get to do things you wouldn't normally do, and say things you wouldn't normally say to people. It's like I don't go outright telling people they're ugly, but I might actually say, oh, you're looking regretfully diminished tonight.
The actors and actresses at the Haunt have a unique relationship between who they are in regular life and who their characters are within Haunt. To many of the employees of Great America, the Halloween Haunt is a chance to take on a new and different persona, to go against social norms and construct a new understanding of themselves within the artificial reality of the Haunt.
I'm a different person outside of Great America, outside of Haunt.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to keep to myself a lot, and it's more of I just enjoy my privacy, and I enjoy being alone. But like coming here, I get to see all these people. I don't like large groups of people, but
yeah,
it becomes comfortable.
I like being, I change my entire character when I'm in the mazes. I am a lot less nice. I take a little bit of pleasure in people's fear. When they fall down, it's funny. I am my character. A vampire's not gonna say, oops, sorry, I made you fall down. Yeah. They're gonna kind of enjoy it. They're gonna enjoy seeing their prey falling around, stumbling and all that stuff.
This is Jesse, a 5-year veteran of the haunt. He plays a vampire in Club Blood, one of the park's most popular haunted mazes.
For those who take it seriously, like myself, who come back year after year, it is definitely a character that is developed. Some people name their characters, some people are their characters only during this time of the year, and they'd like to put different parts of their personality that they normally don't get to display because it's not societally acceptable into their character. They like to be the exact opposite of what they are the rest of the year. I definitely like being something I am definitely not for a good month straight, and then going back to being the acceptable person back in the real world.
And it's just, it's definitely a way to let a different side out. And I feel like it's the same for a lot of people. You know, you see them who they are, they kind of don't talk to you. It's like even people here, before they even put the masks on, they're just like, even in the break room, they don't talk to anyone, right? Mm-hmm. The mask goes on and a completely different person comes out.
It's important to note here that only a select few get to make their own costume at Haunt. Most are given a costume and a small description of their character, and they build their own unique personality around their costume. While the costume is meant to help the audience recognize who that character is within the attraction, it is key to helping the talent separate themselves from their everyday identities. Once someone puts on a mask or makeup, they have the freedom to adopt their dark, malevolent alter egos and become the monsters within.
It's kind of like a switch. Like when I'm at home, like during haunt, I'm asleep all day up until I come here. And then I come here, then. Yeah, and I throw in my fangs and I'm ready to go. It's just like a simple like whoosh.
But yes, haunt itself is all about theatrics. It's all about presenting yourself in a new light and seeing these people come out. And you just don't see it when you go out everywhere else. But you come to this very open environment, and it's almost like you're actually out there in the world, and they're everywhere. They are just they come out of the bushes. They come around corners, hidden from view. Some of them are actually, you know, we have our bushmen. There's like, boom, out of, you know, it's like great.
Although many of the employees interviewed didn't feel that their haunt self had any connection to their everyday personality, some felt their characters were extensions of themselves, a darker, more exaggerated version of their own personality.
Generally speaking, my character has a mind of his own, and I really actually do have to, I have to keep a little of myself in there so that I follow the rules, and also so that he doesn't come out in the inappropriate times. Because if he pops up, he's one of those guys. He's not the most nice fellows on the face of the planet. Well, I'm much nicer and sweeter than he is.
Definitely a part of my personality shows through. My dad saw my costume for the first time the second day last year, and he goes, "Oh baby, this fits you so well." And I know.
Being a performer, I kind of had to find my own knack and my comfort within my character, but then I had to step outside the box to fit the description of the character. So as the vampire, I had to figure out what my area was and then learn my area and know how to tweak it and be able to put myself into the character so I can sell it.
Would you say they're kind of exaggerated, or?
They could be exaggerated, definitely. That's the whole beauty about acting. You get to act your inner, I guess, fantasies.
There's different archetypes based on the different psychological profiles of people. Werewolves are supposed to be that uncontrollable rage that people get when they get pissed off. Vampires are all the sexuality and sensuality that people cannot express because it's not acceptable. Zombies are like a mirror image of people's like complete desire to blend in and be part of something, like almost mindlessly to some extent. And I feel like vampires are like, even though they're a fad right now, they go past that. It's a part of humanity that people don't get to express because they're told not to.
The donning of the mask held with it a special significance to the monsters at Haunt. One by one, every night, individuals from many different backgrounds would put on the face of their alternate identity. In that instant, it stripped them of their insecurities and problems. For those 8 hours a night, they could forget the person they were expected to be and become the monster they wanted to be.
You think you'd ever play anything other than a vampire?
No.
No?
No. As long as Club Blood's around, I'm going to be a vampire in Club Blood. So.
What drives you for that?
Act 2, Abandon All Hope, Ye Who Enter Here.
That it was so intense that I almost pissed myself, or I almost got angry. Or, we do have also a lot of people who piss and poop themselves because of that fact that we've pushed the envelope to where it's kind of like, oh, you're scared? Okay, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going.
One year, we
about
actually,
to kill you.
out on our staging, we had a woman pee herself so bad that there was a line going from our staging into our Elm Street.
Yeah, you can actually follow the piss line all in the dirt. Just going, oh, here she goes. She walked this way, and here she goes this way. So,
In the United States, there's believed to be around 2,000 different haunted attractions, from small charity events in parking lots and backyards to massive multi-attraction events like the Haunt at Great America. Cedar Fair, Great America's parent company, has 9 other haunts around the country that bring in thousands of guests every October. At a time when Halloween is the second largest holiday, it makes you wonder why people go to these events. What is it about fear, about the idea of getting so scared that you lose all control, that entices people to come to attractions like the Haunt?
well, the typical horror film, you're watching other people get scared. You're watching other people have this experience. With the haunted house, you're enveloped in it. You're not just
I
seeing...
think it's more interactive
Yeah,
being
it's
into a
interactive.
haunted house than being in a horror movie.
Yeah.
I mean, watching a horror movie.
But
Sorry.
yeah, you're enveloped in it, but you're also smelling the piss from the person in front of you. You're hearing the chainsaw off in the distance, that's coming closer
And you're
closer.
watching people run out of our exit, trying to get back into the maze.
Stephen Lawler and Natasha Bartholomew are two of the creative minds behind the Conover Mystery Ranch, a rival haunted attraction that's about an hour south of Great America. Together, Stephen and Natasha have over 50 years of combined experience in the haunted attraction industry and an almost overwhelming passion for everything horror.
Would you call what you do theater?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely theater. But it's, like I said, the audience walks through our theater instead of sitting in a seat.
I would probably say it's an interactive theater.
An interactive theater. Yeah, that's the whole thing about taking them out of their reality and into our own.
The people that come to see us are our guests in our house.
Yeah, that's the one thing we instill in all of our staff. The haunted house, yeah, it's open for the customers, for people to come to, but I don't design a haunted house for the customers. I design a haunted house for us. I design a playground for us. And because a lot of our staff are role players, cosplay people, and theatrical geeks who want to have a place to play. And it's like, okay, here's a place for us to play. Oh, and the customers happen just to walk through our playground.
The Haunt goes to great lengths to immerse its guests in the environment of the attraction. The Halloween Haunt prides itself as having the scariest monsters, the most disturbing attractions, yet it's the guest's individual response to the monsters that sets the tone for the show. The individual's interaction with the monsters and with the environment will always be a dominant factor in how they experience the attraction.
So guests are actually just as important as a talent because, yes, you have your talent and they scare people, but what also helps to contribute to the environment and the atmosphere in general is the way guests respond. And what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, you come up to a guest and they tend to, have sort of a negative feedback, let's say, on the way you scare them. Let's say, for example, you scare someone and they get mad about it. It kind of puts a little damper on your night a little bit, because you know your goal isn't to make people upset or mad. It's to scare and entertain. And you know when you have a guest that's kind of, you know, being negative about it and giving you trouble, it's just never a good thing. It creates a negative atmosphere, and you know no one really likes that. On the flip side, if you scare a guest, for example, and they respond to it very positively, as in like, you know, they play along with it, they're scared, they run, or even if they just laugh, like, you know, it just shows that, you know, when a guest responds positively, it just shows that to the talent member that they're doing their job, and they're doing their job very well. Because when a guest is just laughing, or if they're running, even if a guest is like running, you know, there's still, you know, other guests around that may see this, and you know they laugh too because they think it's funny. And just in general, if ever a guest is like laughing, or if they're running, or if they're actually scared, it creates a positive energy flow. And as talent, you can feed off of that positive energy, and you know it just creates a much better experience, not only for yourself but for the guests as well.
Okay. All right, man. That's good for now. Thank you.
What keeps you coming back and doing it every season?
In all reality, what hasn't been the draw.
Yeah.
Nothing really more satisfying than making a full-grown man piss himself.
This is Shadow, a 5-year veteran monster. He's been working the haunt since the beginning. Over the years, he's become a haunt celebrity that is known by staff and fans alike as the dreaded pirate captain of Dead Man's Cove. A lifelong monster, he has lived, breathed, and revolved around haunted attractions for almost his entire life. Along with another pirate, he explains what drives people to come to the haunt and the role horror plays in their lives.
There's also a lot of people that actually come down to something like this, and it's actually run down to a very basic biological level, and what that is, sex. Here's the reason why. Everybody always gives me that weird look, but think about it. In the backs of our brains, when we end up growing up, we end up going to horror movies. We take, like the guys will take the girls and they go to horror movies. The girls get scared, they get really close, and they get all intimate. Later on, the guy may or may not get laid, but whatever, they get a little bit intimate. You have no idea how many guys smile right after I scare the girls right into their arms. And then I go,
You're very welcome, lad. Tonight will probably be a good night for you.
And they laugh and they go off on their very merry little way.
I am a huge fan of the, I'm a huge fan of the feeling of control that can become very addictive, that comes with setting up a beautifully theatrical moment. What we're doing here isn't very complicated narrative-wise, perhaps, but people walking out who have interacted with these professionals feel very satisfied because they've gotten something they can't get anywhere else. A safe, controlled environment where terror can be fully felt. Uncontrolled environments that terrify you tend to kill you relatively often. Let's go tickle that grizzly bear. Oh, this was not a good idea.
The thing. Very much like the difference between movies and plays. They both got actors. They both got the people that are behind the scenes doing the tech and the lighting and the sound and everything else. But in the bigger scheme of things, they're still completely different beasts. This is basically the same thing. So we've got to go out there and we got to, like, with movies, you go out there, do whatever, you get sweaty, and then you've got to do a quick touch-up, and then you look really cool for the movie. Here, it's not about having those constant takes. It's not about, well, it's closer to more like doing the play, because once you screw up, it's already out there. You can't really go back and redo it. Pretty much more closer to working like a play or like a street entertainer, if that makes sense.
But we all crave something that is beyond the homogenized, easily digested world that many of us in this country live in. We crave the chance to prove ourselves. There are people who come here just to see if this year they now have the courage not to scream. There are people who come here just to show their friends that they're not scared. In fact, I think the majority have come for that reason, as a proof of age, proof of manhood almost. Okay. And there are people who come here just because they like their heart to race very fast for a few moments. And I think all of us sort of fit into that category. So there's some very good reasons to interact with professionals.
It's putting on a show on both ends, but it gives the illusion of real-world openness and these things actually coming. It allows your imagination to just go, and you're allowed to deceive yourself as to like give yourself that false sense of danger. Get that adrenaline rush going.
Yeah.
And it's fun, and like people love to scream too. So that's what you're doing. You're coming here to scream, to feel that danger, to feel that rush. And so that's what this is about. That's what Haunt is.
When the audience enters the gates of Great America, they become a part of the performance. They actively create the mood and environment of the haunt, from the moment they enter to the second they leave. Amongst the fog, rubber masks, and ominous music, they are the lead characters in their own personal horror show.
If there weren't guests, there wouldn't be us. I mean, it's as simple as that. With any industry, or with any version of this industry where people get to see a stage show or a film or come to a haunted house, if there was no one there, we wouldn't be doing our jobs. There would be nothing for us to do. We'd just be standing there, and then there wouldn't be any positions left anymore because there's no interest. Without people watching, there's no reason to perform. So we wouldn't exist if it weren't for the guests. The guests are everything. They are the reason that we do this. It's 100% because of them that we are here, and that I'm here, that people I work with are here, that my friends are here, that my coworkers, that my colleagues, my peers. If it weren't for them, they're important. They're everything.
And the people are drifting from door to door. Can't find no heaven, I don't care where they go. Let me tell you, people, just before I go, these hard times will kill you, just dry long flow.
Come and try our
Sunday's a great day. The lines are short, the crowds are happy, and there's less chance of dying. But it's still a chance. We can't eliminate that.
It does take a special kind of person in order to be in a haunted house. You know, it's not, you just don't have to be just an actor or, you know, just somebody who wants to get into somebody's head. It's the kind of person that really needs to be in a haunted house is somebody who basically, I would probably say, is not of the norm.
Yeah.
You cannot be a normal person in society and work at a haunted house.
Yeah, you get a lot of the goths.
As the event reached its final days, not every monster would make it to the end of the month. During a typical haunt season, it is expected that around a third of the monsters will leave the event before the end of October. But of the ones who survive, most will return to scare again next year.
I mean, I don't want to say worse, but
No real haunt is really like better or worse than, you know, any other haunt. Haunt is more about the passion for doing it. It's more about doing it because you have fun doing it. It's not something that, you know, you do because you're struggling trying to pay the bills or something like that. I mean, yes, you know, being paid definitely, you know, adds a perk to it, but really being in a haunt is mostly probably about 99.5% is having fun with what you do.
Finally, it was October 28th. the last night of Haunt. Because Halloween fell on a Wednesday in 2012, the park decided it wouldn't run the Haunt on Halloween night. The previous night, the park-wide attendance for the event was over 23,000, a new record for the event, which brought with it the non-stop scares, as well as the bruises and bumps that come with being a monster. The final night was calmer. Monsters had a chance to reflect on everything they've experienced over the past weeks. Once the clock struck midnight, the monsters returned to wardrobe. They dropped off their costumes, removed their makeup, and said their goodbyes. As the lights in the park went dark, the employees slowly walked back to their cars and back to their normal lives. While the artificial fog began to disappear, it took with it the macabre alternate identities that had played a part of so many lives for 1 month. The following day, the park would begin planning its next event, which they promise would be bigger, more terrifying, and filled with even more monsters. But until then, the monsters within each and every Haunt employee will await the Overlord's resurrection next October. All the audio on this project was recorded and produced by myself, with the exception of the music, which was used with permission and is the property of California's Great America. I'd like to thank everyone who made this project possible, including all the monsters and staff that agreed to share their insight, their knowledge, and help make this project what it is. This project has been produced as part of St. Mary's College of California's Communication Department. I'm Nicholas Hooks, and I'll see you in the fog.